boys and girls. It's Miss Andrews here, coming back from spring break. I hope that you have enjoyed your time off as well as I did. And I was able to actually go to Gulf Shores with the senior high baseball team. My son plays baseball, and so we went down there. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate as much as we wanted to see as much baseball as we wanted, but we did get to take in a couple of games and then enjoy our time as a family. I hope that you had some fun on your time off and are ready to get back to school as we do this last 9 weeks of school. In the next couple of weeks, we will be testing our ACT Aspire testing. And so, in an effort to help Miss Martin out, teaching some of the math skills that you'll be tested over, and to kind of review some of them from third grade, I'm going to be helping with perimeter and area. It also goes very well with our science, and so we'll be doing that as our science for these next few weeks. Perimeter. You can see that word behind me. Notice I have the word rim in all caps, and I have it in a box. That is a way for us to remember what perimeter is. It is the distance around a plane figure or a polygon, a flat figure. And so I'm going to share with you a book called Spaghetti and Meatballs for All, a mathematical story, and it's written by Marilyn Burns. The illustrator is Debbie Tilley. And as I read through this, see if you can find and hear all of the perimeter problems throughout this and any difficulties that the family may be having as they are trying to figure out the correct perimeter for their whole family to eat. Spaghetti and Meatballs for All. One fine day, Mrs. Comfort was busy tending the lettuce patch in her garden. "You know, it's been a long time since we've seen the family," she said to her husband. "You're right," answered Mr. Comfort. He was stretched out on a bench doing what he liked to do best in his vegetable garden, reading a cookbook. "Maybe it's time for a family reunion," Mrs. Comfort said. "A wonderful idea," Mr. Comfort agreed. Let's see. Menus. Dinner for two, serves 4 to 6. Banquets. How many people will we be having?" he asked. The Comforts called their children. They called their parents. Mrs. Comfort called her brother. Mr. Comfort called the next door neighbors, who were almost like family. Everyone could come. "That's 32 people all together, including us," Mr. Comfort said. "What could possibly fit in our oven and still feed 32 people?" He wondered out loud. "Why not make your famous spaghetti and meatballs?" asked Mrs. Comfort. "Good thinking," said Mr. Comfort. "Now, what about renting some tables and chairs?" asked Mrs. Comfort. She got out the telephone book. You may not exactly know what a telephone book is with our cell phones and everything now, but a telephone book was full of everyone's name and numbers for the town, and you would look up phone numbers in there when we all had landlines. 2 weeks later, the big day arrived. Mr. Comfort got up very early and spent all morning cooking. He baked 16 loaves of garlic bread and made 8 pounds of fresh pasta. He simmered 8 quarts of spaghetti sauce and rolled out 96 meatballs. Mrs. Comfort picked all of her ripe tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce for the salad. While Mrs. Comfort waited for the tables and chairs she had rented, she drew up a seating plan. Then she got out all the dishes, the silverware, the glasses, the tablecloths, and some vases. But when the rental company arrived, they were short 1 chair. "Don't worry," said Mr. Comfort. "You will think of something." It's kind of nerve-wracking planning for a big feast for people. I planned for 100 this last summer, and I did cook pasta because it could go a long way and it's pretty cheap. Mrs. Comfort found a folding chair. Now the tables were ready. Each had 4 place settings, 4 chairs, and a vase with lovely cut flowers. Mr. Comfort came out of the kitchen balancing 8 plates of celery and olives, 1 for each table. Just after noon, the Comfort's daughter and her husband arrived with their 2 children. Welcome, said Mrs. Comfort. Come sit, said Mr. Comfort. Let's push 2 tables together so you can sit with us, suggested the Comfort's daughter. But there won't be room, Mrs. Comfort said. But there is, said Mr. Comfort. There's plenty of room and plenty of garlic bread. Everyone was just about to sit down when a car pulled into the driveway. Mrs. Comfort's brother and his wife and their daughter, her husband, and their twin sons all spilled out. Welcome, said Mr. Comfort. Sit down. Oh, let's put over 2 more tables so we can all sit together, said Mrs. Comfort's brother's wife. The Comfort's daughter and her husband got up to help. But that won't work, said Mrs. Comfort. You're so right, Mr. Comfort said. We'll have to push 2 more tables together. But that won't work either, said Mrs. Comfort. You're right, said Mrs. Comfort's brother's wife. Make way, shouted Mrs. Comfort's brother and the Comfort's son-in-law. They each carried over a table and put them side by side. You don't understand, Mrs. Comfort sighed. My plan was, but no one heard her. Everyone was too busy. Save some of that garlic bread for me, a new arrival called. Me too, me too, me too. 3 more voices piped in. Well, look who's here, said Mrs. Comfort's brother's daughter's husband. It was the Comfort's next-door neighbors with their daughter and son. Hello, said Mr. Comfort. So glad to see you. Have a seat while I go get some more garlic bread. But there is no place for them to sit, said Mrs. Comfort. Don't worry, said Mrs. Comfort's brother's wife. We'll just divide these tables into 2 groups of 4. Go ahead, Mrs. Comfort said, but I'm telling you when you fret too much, said Mr. Comfort. Bread, anyone? When all of the tables had been rearranged, everyone sat down. See, Mom, the Comfort's daughter said, it worked out just fine. Mrs. Comfort sighed. Hiya, 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 boomed a familiar voice. Mr. Comfort's father, mother, and their little terrier strolled in. Hello, Grandma. Hello, Grandpa, the Comfort's daughter shouted. Oh, dear, said Mrs. Comfort. Where are they going to sit? No problem, said Mr. and Mrs. Comfort's next-door neighbor. If we just push all 8 tables in one long line, there'll be enough room for everyone. Actually, Mrs. Comfort began to explain. Absolutely, said Mr. Comfort. He was carrying several big bowls of salad. Better move fast or this salad will really be tossed. No sooner had everyone gotten settled than Mrs. Comfort's mother and father drove up in their yellow convertible. Hello, Grammy. Hello, Gramps, the Comfort's daughter shouted. Mrs. Comfort put down her fork. Oh, dear, she said. Don't worry, we're all family, right? Gramps said. Let's just split this long line of tables into 2. There'll be plenty of room for us to squeeze in. But it still isn't going to work because, Mrs. Comfort started to say. A bowl of salad slid into her lap. Sorry, said one of Mrs. Comfort's brother's daughter's twin sons. Mr. and Mrs. Comfort and their 18 relatives and neighbors were finally all seated. They passed the salad and the bread. They shared the celery and the olives. And when they heard a cheery, "Hi, everyone," most of them held on to their plates. The Comfort's son and his wife pedaled in on a bicycle for 2. Their twin daughters rolled in on skates. Didn't I tell you? Mrs. Comfort said. There's not enough room. No problem, Mom, said the Comfort's son. We'll just divide these 2 lines into 4 pairs. Okie dokie. Wait, you're all forgetting something, said Mrs. Comfort. We're out of salad over here. the comfort's daughter said. Don't put any tomatoes in mine, said the comfort's next door neighbor's son. Is there more garlic bread? Asked Mrs. Comfort's mother. Who's got my silverware? Said Mr. Comfort's father. Hey! Mrs. Comfort's brother's daughter's son said to his twin brother. That's my bread you're eating. Get your fingers out of my salad. The Comfort's son's daughter said to her twin sister. Don't play with your food, said the Comfort's son's wife. What did you say? Said Mr. Comfort. I said Mrs. Comfort. Beep, beep! A big red van parked at the curb. Out jumped Mrs. Comfort's daughter and her husband with their triplets. All three of the triplets had brought their boyfriends, who were also triplets. Now, do you see what I mean? Mrs. Comfort asked. Where are they all going to sit? Well, my dearest, said Mr. Comfort, I haven't served the spaghetti yet. We'll just move a few chairs, reset a few places, and there will be plenty of room for everyone. I give up, cried Mrs. Comfort. She sat down in her chair and did not budge. I say we divide the 4 pairs of tables into 8 single tables, Mrs. Comfort's brother said. He and his wife moved 1 pair of the tables apart. The triplets and their boyfriends moved the other 3 pairs. You see, said Mr. Comfort, it all worked out. I see everything as back exactly the way I had it to begin with, said Mrs. Comfort. I knew you'd think of something, said Mr. Comfort. Now, how many meatballs would you like? Kind of a crazy reunion of the Comforts. Did you notice what happened when they pushed the tables together to the perimeter? What would happen? If you're thinking that they lost some table space to put a chair, you're right. They were making the perimeter smaller. And then, as more and more people came, they were pulling the tables apart. And as they pulled the tables apart, what would happen? If you're thinking they made the perimeter larger as they pulled the tables apart, you are exactly right. And in the end, every single table had to be apart, just like Miss Comfort had originally made in her plan, in order to fit 32 people. Because 8 tables with 4 to each one equals 32. Because 8 times 4 is 32. I hope you have enjoyed this story. You may have had some connections to some family reunions and people being in your space and on your table and even eating out off your plate or out of your salad bowl. But we are going to enjoy a week of doing perimeter. Tomorrow we will visit some more about spaghetti and meatballs, and we will try to do some of the math work that goes along with it. I hope you've enjoyed this story.